Hello everyone, I'm John and welcome to another Arty class tutorial hosted by Shopkeep Arty, the online platform helping everyone to be inspired, learn new skills and have fun creating. Today we're zooming live to England where we'll be joining popular animal watercolourist Liz Chaderton to get in the mood for Easter and paint an Easter bunny. Live is the best way to learn as you can ask questions directly to the artist as you paint along. If you're watching a recording of this event, you can find a full list of materials and reference photos on our video catalogue. The link is in the description below. So without further ado, let's hit the travelometer to the left of me and we'll go and see Liz. So Liz works mainly in watercolour but also experiments with printing techniques. Her inspiration comes from animals and plants and she's been exhibiting work since 2009. Her first book, Painting Watercolours on Canvas, was published in 2019 and her second book, Painting Animals in Watercolour, was published just at the end of last year. Hello, Liz.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm very well. I love seeing where I live and I think, oh, there I am. So yeah.
I know, it's amazing, isn't it, that flying? Now, can you believe that this is our 13th show?
I can. Yes. Yeah, it's amazing because I feel actually like I haven't been here for a while, but then I sort of started totting up and you think, oh gosh, yeah, that's quite a few,
isn't it? And yeah. if we keep going at this rate, there'll be no more animals left for us to paint, will there?
Oh, that's the joy. You can't run out of animals.
It's like Noah's
always inspiration.
Exactly. Now, I'll leave you to get ready while I just finish my short intro. So Shopkeep Arty holds a number of live shows throughout the week, and these free Arty class webinars are designed to give you an introduction to a featured artist as well as a short, sharp boost of creative inspiration. We're continually hunting out leading artists from around the world, giving you the opportunity of spending some time with them live and experiencing different multicultural influences. If you have any suggestions for new artists, please get in touch with us via our website, and if we do feature them, you'll get a free pass onto their workshop webinar. Speaking of workshop webinars, around halfway we'll take a pause and I'll ask Liz about her 2 to 3 hour workshop webinar which is coming up next week. But without further ado, let's get painting and we'll go back to Liz as we paint a fluffy little bunny. Right, Liz, back with you.
Thank you very much, John. Well, hello everyone out there, and it's really nice to be here and the sun is shining, so it feels quite Eastery.
I know, it's lovely, isn't it? It's been so nice the last few days.
Yes. So this is what, I don't know if you can just show my picky. Oh, lovely, thank you. So this is what we're going to do, a little lop-eared bunny. We used to have a bunny who looked just like this, who was called Darth Bunny, obviously after Darth Vader. I have 2 sons who are now grown up, but when they were little. So that's what we're going to do, and we're only going to use 3 colours. This is my reference picture, and I'm going to introduce you to a very limited palette. We're going to sketch out the rabbit, put in a few masking lines for the whiskers, and then just use 3 colours and do lots of lovely wet and wet to hopefully get a super fluffy bunny. So if you haven't already sketched out your rabbit, why don't you do that while I'm just sort of wittering about colours? That would be good. I've just got an A4 sheet of paper. This is £140, not or cold pressed surface. It is a Canson paper. Now, I'm being very brave because I have never used this paper before. So actually doing it on this workshop is possibly silly, but I can't. No, what could go wrong? Nothing could go wrong.
It's only our 13th show, Liz. I'm sure it's going to be lucky. I'm sure it's going to be lucky.
Yes, gosh, thanks for that. Yeah. The reason I'm using this paper is I belong to various forum online, and some people have been quite snotty about cans paper because it's not 100% cotton, it's a cellulose paper. And I thought, I don't know if that's fair. And, you know, when people are starting to paint, often they're not going to be able to afford Arche or Fabriano or something, and it's very reasonably priced. So I thought, I'm going to try it myself and see whether I would recommend it or not. So in the next 45 minutes, we're going to find out, aren't we?
Exactly.
Never mind. So, yes, so just do a gentle outline of a rabbit. And
I'll leave the camera on there so that people can use this as a guide.
Idea. Yeah. Yes. There was an outline that was on your website, so hopefully you've got that, and I would imagine most people have.
Yeah.
What you also need to do sooner rather than later is to get some masking on, because that needs to dry. So when I'm using masking fluid, you must not use your decent brushes because you won't get it out. What I find really useful for something like whiskers is a little cotton bud that you've just cut the end off, and then you get a nice sharp point just for a very fine whisker. So that's good. Or you could use just a cocktail stick, or you may well have a proper way of putting it on. But if you haven't got something that you can use, that's two things that you might just find around the house, which are great for just putting a couple of whiskers, little eyebrow whiskers and some there. What I will just say about the sketch is that actually on our reference photo, we can see its other back leg here. So this is a rabbit with an extremely large bottom, because its bottom goes from there to there. I thought we would put it on a slight diet and leave that leg out. I just think it looks too fat with that leg in. And the other thing is you can only see a teeny weeny bit of its tail, just where my finger is here. So we might just put in a bit more tail, like here. I just added a bit more tail because, let's be honest, what's a rabbit without a tail? So, you know, first learning point is edit. You know, if your photo shows one thing, who cares? You're the artist, you can interpret it and edit out anything that you don't fancy the look of or that you think would look a bit odd. So as I say, I just didn't want to have quite such a fat bottom on my bunny. So
I just want to do a shout out for Diane Harmon. She says, good morning from foggy Melbourne. Wow. Do you know what? I didn't read the third word. Foggy Melbourne in Florida. Oh, it's not as exciting. I thought you were in Australia there, Diane. Oh, well. I thought, gosh, what time is it over there? No, so anyway, in Florida. And she's a member of the Brevard Watercolour Society. So a shout out for Brevard. Thank you.
I was about to be very impressed by.
I know, so was I, but I didn't read forward.
Yeah, it's sort of being in pajamas at this point. I'm pretty impressed by Florida, but you know, it's just slightly less dedicated. That's sort of more breakfast time, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah. So while you're doing the sketch and get those, as say, you want to get those masking lines on as soon as possible, just so they can dry. Let's have a little look at colours. And I promised to introduce you to the Thumb Bum palette. I'd never heard it called that, and someone said it to me, and I was like, what on earth are you talking about? And it's French ultramarine, thumb, and then burnt umber is your bum. Sorry, that's burnt umber there. But I like, again, as a mother of two sons, I guess I quite like toilet humour, so Thumb Bum made me giggle. Anyway, so we basically either need French ultramarine and either burnt sienna, that's burnt sienna there, or burnt umber. And let me just show you those on a scrap of paper. So we've got gorgeous, gorgeous burnt sienna, which is my very favourite colour in the whole world. We've got French ultramarine, which is not a bad colour. And so together, if we mix them, They make a great either dark brown, or if I put in a little bit more blue, that'll come down to a good sort of more grey, even down to sort of black. So it's a great mix for a good dark. And then the same goes for, let me just mix that up. And do mix your colours so that you've got nice, rich, creamy puddles of colour, because we're going to paint quite fast and we won't be stopping. So that is your burnt umber. So that's your bum.
We've had a couple of questions. Do we need to get the masking on yet?
Yes, get it on so it can dry. Yes, please. Because, as I say, we don't want that going on our decent watercolour brushes. Oh, sorry, I meant to say, if you haven't got masking fluid, no panic at all. What we can do at the end is maybe use something like white gouache. So that's... Oh,
I'm only doing it deliberately because it's the 13th, and I thought, let's keep you on your toes.
Oh, you can trip me up anytime. Yes, so some opaque white gouache or gouache, if you prefer. We can put whiskers on at the end. So if you haven't got masking fluid, don't panic. Sorry, I should have said that, because where was I? Oh yeah, burnt umber and French ultramarine. Again, look at the beautiful dark mixed together. It's, fabulous. So your decision whether you want to use the burnt sienna or the burnt umber with that little bit of French ultramarine, and we can have a blue and brown bunny very happily. But I've also suggested just one other colour. I've got a lovely mauve. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? And I think a few little flicks of that in places would be beautiful. But you might use a pink, even like an opera rose or a quinacridone rose.
Liz, just to butt in there, so a couple of clarifications on where the masking fluid should be going.
Oh, sorry, I thought, yes. So we're putting whiskers, or those are eyebrows, and whiskers. Can you see there?
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. So we just want a few to indicate.
Exactly. Can we show the original painting as well, just to show?
Of course, yes. There you go.
Yeah, there we go. That's what we're trying to.
You see, we're just putting a few there. But as I say, if you haven't got masking fluid, really don't worry, because we can always put that on right at the end with a small brush and a little bit of white paint. So that's not a problem.
Thanks.
Okay. So there they are. So yes, I was just saying colours. Hold on. If I put those over there, you can still see his face. We're basically two colours to mix down to the greys and browns, and then a little bit of a surprise just to perk everything up. But as say, you could use a pink, you could use a little bit of purple, lovely a mauve like I've got.
What is that mauve, out of interest, Liz?
It is just called mauve.
Oh.
Sorry, this will make you laugh. Right. I always say to people, look after your materials and they will last for ages. And I found this, do you want to just show it? Really sad tube.
Oh my goodness.
So with a very yucky label on.
That's literally exploded.
No, I cut it open because it had actually dried. So I cut it open because I don't like wasting anything. And after this lesson, I am going to scrape it out into a little pot, rehydrate it, and I will use every last scrap of that paint because I don't.
Very resourceful.
However, I decided not to do it before while I was waiting for this workshop because I just had visions of being covered in mauve paint and it being smeared up my face and everywhere. So I was very restrained. But yes, it's just called mauve. It's actually a Cotman colour. Usually I use artist quality. Cotman is a student one, but I just thought it was a really nice colour, and I'm only putting little flashes of that colour on. So when I discovered that, sadly, at the bottom of my paint box, I thought, aha, I'll use that.
Karen has made the observation that that colour matches your top, Liz. There we go. There you go. You're colour coordinating with your palette.
You know, I got up this morning and thought, oh, I must put my mauve on.
Exactly. You obviously had mauve in on your mind.
It must have been.
Now Janice has asked, will you be painting flat or at an incline?
For the sake of the camera, I am painting flat. I would always recommend just painting at a slight incline because it does help you control the water. So literally balance your book or your board on your reel of, I don't know, say masking tape. Just pop it under, and that's enough of an incline. I'm going to paint flat just so that because of how the camera's set up, you'll be able to see it.
Yeah, perfect.
But yes, just a small degree helps you control the water, and with watercolor, it's all about where the water's flowing. So that's the important thing.
Brilliant. So I think we should crack on because we've not got a huge amount of time.
Okay, good. So I hope you have got 3 puddles of colour nicely mixed up so they're good and creamy. And we are going to start by painting this lovely little dark eye. So you need to mix up. I'm going to use that French ultramarine and the burnt sienna just because it is my favourite. And I'm mixing up a nice creamy dark. This brush is about a size 10. You might want a slightly smaller one depending on your surface, quite how big or small you've gone. And we're going to start with that eye and make sure we leave a little sparkle for the white. In fact, I am going to use a slightly smaller brush just so I've got a bit more control. So it's literally a circle with a little white highlight. Nothing complicated there at all. And then we're going to work out from that eye. So I'm getting, again, a bit of my dark, and I'm leaving a tiny gap like that, and maybe a little gap round here. So there's quite a lot of fluid. And then I'm cleaning my brush. And with just the clean water, I'm stroking that colour away. And because we've mixed our own mix of dark, some of it will separate out and you might end up with a little bit of blue showing or a little bit of that burnt sienna or your burnt umber. And if it doesn't, you can just drop a little bit more in like I did there so that it just flows through that water and you get lovely, maybe get some granulation going. That's when it separates out into the little bits of the paper. We could put a little bit of blue down, maybe down in his cheek, and just let that sort of mingle and separate. And already you've just got that lovely little cheek of our fluffy old rabbit. So that's what I like to do, is put the paint down and then use a wet brush just to stroke it over the surface so that the paint can sort of do its own thing. So again, this is just a wet brush pulling a bit more round over that nose, and then a little bit of the dark I'm just going to drop in there. And this is why I love watercolour, because look, it goes for a little walk all by itself. And you end up with a beautiful furry texture. And it's just a very gentle motion of sort of herding it. You're just gently herding it in the direction you want it to go. Okay.
It's basically, as you're saying, it's like giving the bunny a stroke, isn't it?
Yeah, really. And if you stroke it in the direction that the hair grows, say you miss a couple of little spots, so you end up with little white areas, they'll be going in the right direction and they will look totally plausible. Whereas if I sort of went sideways, for example, it would look a little odd if I had little missed areas. But you can drop in a bit of extra colour in places if it's got a little bit too dilute. But just let it all go for a little walk. So I'm just putting a bit there, especially if you've got white hairs. If you put some hairs off the top of his eyebrow, you do want it to be quite dark behind them, because otherwise they won't show. So putting a little bit of dark paint behind wouldn't be a bad idea. And I'm just going to put a little bit more dark down on his big fat cheek down there. And that's basically his face done. Well, his face, we've got to come on to that gorgeous nose. So with that gorgeous nose, I'm going to use a teeny bit of my burnt sienna, a little V like that. So you could use your burnt umber, and then a clean brush, just pull it away and pull it up and leave a little bit of a white area just to separate it from the rest of the face. It doesn't have to be a whole sort of half semicircle, but just leave enough to indicate where the structure is. And we've got a beautiful little soft nose there. Oh, don't want to scratch it. I do love rabbits, I have to say.
And why have you decided not to do the other eye at this stage?
The other eye, because I'm slightly concerned that it will all merge into one, because you've probably got quite a lot of water going on here. We could, for you, John.
No, I don't want to be held responsible. It's the 13th show. Don't do it.
No, for you, John. No. I was sort of leaving it, but it does look a bit weird. So I'm going to do that very carefully. You can't see a lot of that one. So it just needs to be a little semicircle. And look, it has gone in a bit, but that doesn't matter, does it? I'm blaming you anyway.
I'm just going to put it down to happy accident. Happy accident.
Oh, you've been learning. Now, depending how your first eye is drying, you might, with a damp brush, just want to pull out a little soft highlight down there, just to make it slightly more round. It just gives the impression of it being a bit more spherical. So that's just a little damp brush and pulling out a very soft highlight. And it just, as I say, gives a bit more going on in that eye.
Kieran said, I have 2 bunnies and you're making me want to pet them now.
Well,
that's good. That's no bad thing, that, Kieran. Go and get them out. Put them on your lap. Go on.
Our bunny, Darth, used to just love lying on his back. He was quite a feisty bunny, but they go into that sort of slight freeze if you lie them on the back, and they sort of curl up on your lap, and he was just gorgeous. Right, I'm feeling quite nostalgic now.
Yeah. Jessie said, I'm from Tennessee, and I just want to say that I love the way that you teach watercolour, and I absolutely love your artwork. So that's from
Jessie. Thank you. That's very kind of you. So we need these gorgeous fat pouches here, his little cheeks next. So what we're going to do is, with our mix, so that's French ultramarine plus your sienna, or French ultramarine plus your burnt umber, we're going to sort of go quite dark here.
Victoria wants to know, did you wet the paper first, Liz? Or
No, this is all on dry paper, because I've just put that puddle of dark there, and then with a clean wet brush, again, I'm just pulling that,
stroking it out,
and stroking it out, and just sort of coming round to there. And I reckon this is an ideal opportunity for a little flash of your mauve or your pink. Could just go in there for a bit of fun. Because I just thought 2 colours was a bit boring. So just for a little bit of fun, we could bring in some of that. And then we need to do exactly the same on the other side. So it's concentrated on the dry paper, a little concentrated puddle of the dark. clean your brush off so it's wet, and then stroke it out to form that little cheek. If you've stroked a bit too much of that colour away, you can always come back and add a little bit more in, like that, and just let it sort of go for a little walk. And again, I reckon a tiny touch of that mauve might just be, yeah, just fun. I mean, it's not a serious thing, is it? I think it's quite fun to put in little touches. And then it's got sort of like a second bit of the cheek round here, so we need to get that in, and just leave the tiniest gap of white paper. Hope you can just see I've left that little crescent there, and that just stops it all merging into a big mushy sort of lump. It's worth keeping an eye on what's going on in other places. So can you see up here, I've got a huge sort of water bloom going on up here. And luckily I love water blooms, but it's looking a bit pale. So I might just go back in and drop quite concentrated colour in there and let that sort of walk around as well. So always be aware of what's going on your paper, even if you're working on a different area. I'm just going to take a bit of that pinky mauve up there. We're going to have to come back when this is dry to put in his nostrils with the real dark. If we did that now, it would all just merge in and be a bit of a mess. So we're going to just let that little nose dry before we come back. Okay. And then he's sort of got his, I guess it's a lower jaw here, this sort of area, which is actually white fur in this case, but is in shadow. So this is just clean water that I'm putting across in the shape of that lower jaw. And then I'm going to touch a white area, a wet area, and some of that will just flow in, and that's enough colour just to sort of do his jaw there, I hope. So I'll just stop for a second so that we can just catch up.
Okay. We're approaching halfway.
Blimminette, John.
I know.
No, it's ridiculous.
You were just talking so much, Liz, at the start. I just couldn't stop you, could I, really?
Oh, not saying anything to that. Right. Well, can I get an ear in before half term?
Go on then, get an ear in.
Get an ear in, eh? Right, mix up some dark, because this left, the ear over on the left is really dark, and you'll be surprised how much colour you get through. So I'm just mixing a good puddle of dark, and then I'm going to get, just with my brush, in hopefully a nice confident movement, sort of get that in, leave a slight gap of paper there to show the fold, and then I'm going to be a little bit more careful coming round to sort of fill that in. If you want to, you can pick off a bit of that with a kitchen towel just to lighten, because the top of that ear is a bit lighter. And if you fancy sticking in a little bit of mauve down there, or your pink just at the end of the ear, that would be quite fun. That's a bit too. Am I chancing my luck if I say and do the same on the other side, John?
Go on then. Go on then. I'm feeling
correct answer
today. Yeah.
I know, you are very kind. So just do the same on the other. You might find this side is a bit drier, so you can get right up to that cheek and not leave the white line. But little bits of dry paper just stop everything mushing into one. And again, you've got slight fold on that ear. And we can come over the top, a bit of clean water on your brush, and just do the top of the head and sort of merge it in. If you've got a hard edge, just tickle it with your brush until those edges merge, because luckily burnt umber, burnt sienna, French ultramarine aren't staining colours. You should be able to sort of reactivate them and get them going.
Ear.
Ah, very good. Thank you.
I did steal that from Karen, actually. Karen said ear later. So thanks, Karen.
Yes.
Right. So, now, how we you wanted to add a bit more colour? Go on then.
Oh no, I was just playing because I can't stop myself. I was just putting a teeny bit of blue around the top of his head because I thought it's nice. If you were doing something a bit more finished, you might want to put a little bit of salt on the end of the ear because it's so velvety and gorgeous, but I'm not doing that. Right, that would be a perfect place to stop.
Awesome, perfect, thank you. And how are you enjoying it? It's really fantastic, amazing how everything comes to shape, and the face, you can kind of just see the fur, can't you? It just looks so fluffy and adorable. If you're watching on YouTube, it'd mean an awful lot if you could press the thumbs up for us. This ensures that YouTube recommends the class to more people, helping us spread the benefits of creativity to a wider audience, young and old alike. So thank you. If you subscribe to our channel, by the way, you'll also get notified when we launch a new video, so that makes it really easy to find out when we do. This 45-minute arty class is designed as a sort of prelude to a full 2 to 3 hour workshop webinar by the artist. With more time and restricted numbers, our workshop webinars are more relaxing and exclusive, but just as fun. You also get to speak directly to the artist if you want, and compared to other workshop events, it's really good value, and you have the option of unlocking the recording that you can then come back to time and time again. The workshop will be taking place in exactly 1 week's time at 3:30 UK time next Tuesday. So Liz, what have we got in store for people at the workshop?
Well, if I move slightly to one side, there's a clue behind me. Can you see that?
I can.
So it's not on canvas, and it's obviously pretty big, but we will be painting hares. Let me show you one. I've got a card here.
Yeah.
If you can put on the, thank you. So this was from a watercolour on paper that I painted before, and I now just have them on greetings cards. But we're going to paint a pair of Mad March hares, a bit more dynamic than our bunny, but using very similar techniques of really letting the colour flow, really trying to get some life and some fur into it, and that's the plan. But the composition will be more like the one behind me that I showed you. So a couple of hares sort of chasing each other. I could get closer.
Gosh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the plan.
No, that's going to be a lovely piece. I'm looking forward to it.
I hope so.
Yeah. So let me share my screen and I'll show you how you can book next week's event. So literally, you go to our website and you click on live events at the top, and when you scroll down, you'll then see Liz's workshop event there. So click on the workshop button, and then it'll go to the page that explains a lot of what Liz has just been talking about. It also shows you all the reference pictures that you'll be sent as well the day before, that you can download and then you can print those off, as well as the pencil sketch as well. It's also got a full list of the materials required. We've also got a special deal with Jackson's Art, which ships globally, where you can get 10% discount if it's a new account. Then literally scroll up and then click on this link, book your webinar or the video, and it will go through to Liz's shop. So you can either book your place on the live webinar, or if you can't make that date, you can book the video. And the video has two prices: the full video price or a discounted price if you've attended the live workshop event. Once we've done the video, and got that online. You can then visit our full catalogue. You can scroll down at any time to the to Liz's video and just press the watch button, and so long as you've purchased it and it's been unlocked for you, you can then watch it. I also wanted to show you that you can sort by artist as well, so you can sort by different things, and then you can scroll down, you can see all the workshops that Liz has done, or whatever other artist as well. So hopefully that helps. Right, let's go back to the second half, and hopefully we can finish painting the rest of the bunny.
Right, so we have, are you okay to just
Sure,
put
yeah.
the camera down? Lovely. So here's my rather cross-looking bunny, actually. I definitely need to make his eyes darker. I'm just looking, way things dry. Some person who was asking about whether I had it tilted. Can you see I've got a big puddle just there? And that's because I'm working flat. Whereas if I tilted it, it would have flowed away. So that's why I do think a tilt is a good idea. But right, let's do the body. And the body is really quick to do. So again, you need a really good mix-up, a really good puddle of your mix ready to go, because we're going to do this all pretty much in one hit. Now, this time I am going to wet the paper first. This is supposedly a clean brush, but as you can see, it's very not clean. But actually that's good, because now you can see where I'm putting the water. So I'm stroking my rabbit again in this direction. And if I skip any little areas, so like I've skipped an area there just as I was putting it on, actually that's really good, because that'll give some structure to the rabbit. And then I can stroke in some of that dark that I've got mixed. And if I feel adventurous, I can also put in little touches of the pure colour, which will mix on the surface to form these lovely furry marks. So I'm going to come around there. If there's a foot here, which is, foot-wise, doesn't have to be any more than that. You can't see any definitions of its toes or claws or anything like that. That's very easy. So, and then we're going to do pretty much the same, coming up under his chin, just wetting down there. Hopefully that little break was just enough for some of this to dry, and I'm stroking it into the centre like this, because that's the way the fur kind of grows. They sort of come down to a central line. And again, gosh, look how much of that paint I've used. I didn't mix up enough, so I hope you have. Let's just do that very quickly. And we'll just drop that. We'd like it, ideally, it needs to be a bit darker under his chin, because that will also help show up his white chin. And we're bringing that colour down, sort of like that. Now, if you want to, and if you've got a little little squirter bottle, because he is soft and fluffy, we might think that that's too hard an edge. So you can very gently, and it has to be gentle, otherwise you're going to end up with just a massive blob. You could soften off some of those edges to get a lovely furry edge to him. But do go careful, because it's so tempting with those spray bottles, and then it just goes whoosh, and it's everywhere.
Now, I've got a couple of good questions that have been asked. So Gail on YouTube said, how do you choose your colour choices? So when you made that palette choice initially, what drove you to those? Is it just gut instinct?
No, it's just such a brilliant combination of colours. The blue and the burnt sienna, or the blue and the burnt umber, I know will mix to greys, but if you put a bit more of the brown in, it goes to a dark brown. bit more of the blue, and it'll make a grey blue, and it's just perfect for so many different animals. It's just a super combination. And the reason I wanted a little bit of that mauve or pink in was just for fun. I quite like putting a few little unexpected sort of colours in just for the viewer. And in fact, I'm just going to say, while this is still wet, I'm just going to put in a couple of little bits of mauve just so those can mix in. But, you know, I think it's quite fun to put something unexpected in so that the viewer gets a little surprise almost.
Yes, no, that's good. Marie's asked, as you've been working on this Canson paper, would you recommend it?
It's all right. I'm really loving, I don't know if you can see, if I pull this up, it's granulating. Look at these colours, how they're granulating on the paper, which is fabulous for this sort of furry texture. So I'm really loving that. Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with it at the moment. It's yeah, good. I mean, I'd need to give it a bit more of a test, because what I'd like to see is how you lift, whether the surface sort of starts to pile up, or is it pill or pile? You know, where it goes bobbly. If you correct things, that's important, because I hate to tell you, but I do make mistakes. So I'd like to see how it corrects. But I can't
believe it, Liz. I can't believe it.
I know, it's amazing. Who'd have thought that I actually make mistakes? But I do. Sorry, I'm just, while it's still wet, I just want to get some of that dark in.
Yes, Joy says she loves the granulation. It seems to have really worked well, doesn't it, on the page? Yes,
the more water you use, it will encourage granulation. And French ultramarine is a really granulating colour, so it will always granulate. But I'm impressed so far with what it's done. I like that a lot. So I'm just dropping in some, while it's wet, some sort of dark to make shadows. I've left some of these little white bits of paper just to indicate, say here, that there's a bit of a foot going on, here that there's a bit of roundness on that tummy. Now this is very, very wet, so we've got to just be careful here. Yours might not be quite this wet. I think I've got a bit carried away. But I'm just going to have to mix up some more colour. It's always worth mixing up too much, and I usually do, but I've obviously got carried away this time. I would love to make this little eye a bit darker, so I'm just going to do that carefully now.
Fabiana said, it looks so easy when Liz paints. I
know what you mean, but it is easy. No, because I'm not doing it. Luckily, the watercolour's doing it for me. Bless it. So I just wanted to make that a little bit darker because he was looking very pale-eyed. I think once you trust your materials and you know that watercolour's going to come and play, it's fine. If you try and control watercolour, that's when it all gets a bit difficult. So it's the people who do the lovely detailed work that impresses me, because they are actually in control of it. I just let it kind of play around on the surface and do whatever it fancies. So hopefully your nose area might be dry enough now. If it's not, don't spoil it. The right cheek is still quite wet here, but I'm hoping, I think this might be a bit wet. I would love to get his little dark nose in, the nostrils. So I'm just putting really dark and trying to be quite careful there. Just to darken that down. It does look a bit mutant to me, but there you go. I will dry him off and hopefully that will be okay.
It's difficult when you're doing so much wet work, though, in such a limited time, because it does risk
Exactly.
things, doesn't it? It does risk.
Yes, it does risk things. So at the moment, I say he is a bit blobby, but I can rescue that. Don't worry. And then, because I am conscious of the time, it's 2:45 here. I'm just going to say that you need to make sure it's dry, but then we would put the background in, and I just use the French ultramarine watered down to the background. And the most important bit is, of course, his white tail at the end, because white on white paper, you're stuck, aren't you? So if you maybe paint round it and then drop some colour in very close to it, it needs to be quite dark. We'll just sort of do a little bit of negative painting to capture that white tail. And then when this is dry, I would actually end up with some more blue around it. But if I do that now, he is just going to disappear into a big blob. I say you might not have made yours quite as wet as mine, and I would get blue around that. Again, mine is so wet, I don't think I'm going to be able to take the masking off for the whiskers, because that needs to be dry. Let's just take that little puddle away. So what you would need to do is to paint the background, let it dry, and then just gently rub off the masking fluid, and you will have white whiskers.
Did you do that on the original painting that you did?
God, you're good, aren't you? Yes, that's a good point. So I rubbed away and I ended up with white whiskers. But I hope you can see is that I just went back in with a little bit of blue and just calmed them down in places, because if they were stark white, it would look like they've been stuck on. Whereas if you just put a tiny bit of colour in places, it sort of beds them in and just makes them not too obtrusive. But that needs to be when your paper is totally dry, because if you try and take masking fluid off damp paper, there's a real danger that you will rip your paper or smudge your work. So you do need to make sure that's totally dry, take your masking off, and then I really would recommend just toning those down. Actually, what you can do is use a watercolour pencil. So say I've got a blue watercolour pencil, you could just put a few extra whiskers in with that, and it'll almost give like layers of the whiskers, which is nice. So that's if you've not got a particularly steady hand for, say, using a rigger brush, you could use a watercolour pencil just to put those whiskers in.
Barbara said the paint seems to be sitting on top of the paper for a very long time. Do you think that might be because it's Canson?
It might be. It's yes. It's not particularly warm in my studio, it has to be said. so it's quite chilly here, because I always get a little bit overheated during I always feel that I'm sort of glowing by the end of the webinar, so I decided to keep my studio rather cold so that hopefully I would keep my cool. I'm now making myself blush, but there you go. So I think it is sitting on top. It's not a very absorbent paper, I've certainly noticed that, but I guess that's also why it's granulating nicely.
Yeah.
So it's a balance.
Pros and cons, yes.
Yeah. So looking at my bunny, who does look a little mutant, he looks fluffy if nothing, so he's a bit of a mutant fluffy bunny. I would let him dry at this point. I would then definitely want to really darken down this ear, because that ear is getting a bit lost, and I would mix up pretty much as black as I could of that mix, and really darken down the end of that ear to make that stand out against his body. Make sure I'm happy with that eye, and then get that background in, and that would be able to sort him out.
Yeah, brilliant.
So as I say, he does look like he's eaten far too many carrots at the moment.
He does, doesn't he? Oh no, but he looks really cuddly. He looks really cuddly.
He
Um,
looks fat. He's not fat.
very
He's
well,
fat.
not fat, very well loved. Very well loved.
Big boned. He looks
Yes,
big boned.
I think you've
He
given
looks
him one too many treats, Liz. One too many treats. So how did you get on? We'd love to, both of us would love to see how you did and what you've come up with. I've created a post relating to this arty class on Facebook where you can share a photo of your painting. The link is also in the description below if watching on YouTube. As we near the end of this show, if you've got any words of thanks you'd like me to pass on to Liz, please write them on the Q&A or YouTube chat now. While you do that, I want to turn my attention to our most important attendees, our patrons. Of course, being a patron is not only the best way to save money on our exclusive workshop webinars or get access to our entire video archive, but the monthly contribution you make also helps support our channel, helping us keep these free classes going throughout the year and beyond. This week I've got some new patrons to welcome into our exclusive arty community, so I'll press the other button behind me, the button of thanks, and once I do that, hopefully something will happen. Oh, there we go. And I want to welcome Peter Harris, Niam McKerney, what is it?
Neve.
Neve. Oh, okay. Neve McKerney, Eunice Phillips, Tanis Bula, Judith Simon, Liz Babram, Vasundra Sir, and Jill May. I could pronounce Jill May at the end there, but apart from that, yeah. But I know that you'll really enjoy being part of our arty community and all the special events that are coming up. In fact, we've got an arty inspired show tomorrow with no other than we're welcoming back after such a long time Liz Chaderton, where she's going to be talking about painting with gold. So I can't wait. Gold leaf, not gold blocks, gold leaf. So I'm really looking forward to that. So it's the end of another great arty class. If you do want to join us for the full workshop event, don't forget to head over to our website now. So before I go, some comments to Liz. Let me go back to you, Liz. Right, so Joan said, Liz, so lovely to see you in action, from Joan. Jane, great work as always, Liz. Trina, this was so much fun. I love working with just a few colours. Ivana, I have to leave, but love the class. Thank you so much. I don't know why I picked that one, but thank you so much. Karen, fantastic as always, Liz. Can't wait for the workshop. Thank you. My bunny looks as if he's eaten all those mini eggs, so that's quite funny. So it sounds like another plump bunny. Alexandra, thanks, Liz. Louise, been great. Kathy, that was great. Loved the way she worked. Margaret, great fun. Janice, brilliant as always, Liz. Thank you. Trina, what a great class. I used Kilimanjaro cold press paper. My bunny looks like it's waiting for something to eat. Liz is always so much fun, and I look forward to trying some more bunnies on different papers. Judith, that was absolutely super. Thank you, Liz. Suzanne, thank you, Liz and John. This was great. I loved it and will continue the technique. Jane, thanks so much. Love the colour doing the work. Kieran, love your short workshops. Diane, wonderful webinar, learning every week. Thank you, Liz. Victoria, thanks, Liz. Brilliant class as usual. Can't wait to have a go later. Jessie, thank you so much for taking the time to do these classes for us. I feel like I'm learning a lot. Tony and Jessie, try a workshop. You'll be amazed at how much, because we go through step by step. It really is fantastic. Tony, just fabulous, Liz, as always. Pauline, thanks for a lovely fluffy bunny. Such fun. Molly, another fabulous session with you, Liz. Liz, fab demo. Oh my goodness, this goes on for a while. Bobby, thanks, Liz. Happy Easter Bunny. Barbara, thank you for a great demo. The way that Liz mixes colours is very refreshing and informative. Can't wait to paint my Easter Bunny cards. Lala, thank you, Liz. Very inspiring and great fun as always. Joy, very joyous class. That's appropriate word, Joy. As always, I'm off to get the paper. Love the granulation effects. Thanks. Karen, thanks, Liz. Good to see you. Karen in Maidenhead. Helen, fabulous fun. Thank you so much. Ash, love the way the colours mix by themselves. Margaret, always enjoy. Liz, see you next week. Jacqueline, always great. Julia, thanks so much. A great way to spend a day off work. A day off work. Oh, I can't think of anything better than doing a bit of painting. And then love you, Liz, from Joan, or it could be Joanne. Patricia, thank you. Loved it. Never painted like this before. It's lovely, isn't it? This sort of loose loose watercolor work. It really is quite a nice technique when you can get into it, and it really does detoxify your stress levels. I do think it really does well like that. Right, I'm going to, they're flooding in. As I read more, I get 2 replacers, so I'm going to have to just draw a line. But thank you. It sounded obviously as though you all really enjoyed it, as did I. So if you're taking part in Randy Hale's workshop live from Colorado, I'll see you in about 30 minutes. If not, I hope to see you tomorrow at our Arty Inspired show with no other than Liz Chaderton. Or alternatively, this coming Thursday, we've got another popular watercolour artist, Jane Bettridge, joining us for another Easter-inspired show where we'll be painting a daffodil. So anyway, it's goodbye from me, but obviously, thank you so much, and goodbye to Liz. Thank you, Liz.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Big round of applause. Woo! And I'll finish on your bunny.
Ooh, what about that one?
Yes, you wanted that one instead. Okay. Brilliant. Take care, everyone. Bye.